The movie begins with a magician sitting in Kamartaj, his place of magic. He places a book inside the library, but suddenly 3 unknown individuals appear and enter. He looks around and finds himself surrounded by many people. They grab his hands and legs. Here, Caecilius appears, takes a sword, and decapitates the magician. He opens the book, tears out some pages, and leaves. But the great teacher appears and says to him, "You think you can leave so easily, Caecilius?" He and his followers run out into the street but find themselves trapped. The great teacher prepares to attack them. She fights them fiercely, taking them down one by one, causing destruction everywhere. Caecilius then uses a teleportation ring to escape with his followers, leaving the great teacher behind. At this point, we are introduced to Stephen Strange, the world-renowned neurosurgeon known for his expertise in solving complex nerve problems and performing intricate surgeries. He is shown preparing for surgery while listening to music. As he operates, Christine, his colleague, signals him from outside. He leaves the operation to another doctor and steps out to talk to her. She tells him about a patient with a gunshot wound to the head. Stephen examines the case and decides to take it, despite the diagnosis of brain death. After much discussion, he performs surgery and successfully removes the bullet. Later, he invites Christine out for dinner, hinting at his feelings for her. She teases him about his invitation, and they share a light-hearted moment. Stephen prepares for the evening, but on his way to meet Christine, he receives a call about a critical case. While reviewing the case on his phone, he gets distracted and crashes his car. The accident severely injures his hands, leaving them full of pins and irreparably damaged. Upon waking up in the hospital, Christine informs him that no one could have done more than that. He tells her, "I could have done," but the damage to his hands was too severe to fully repair. Devastated, Stephen begins physical therapy but finds no improvement. Desperate, according to the doctor who was treating him, he said to him, "You knew before that it was difficult to damage the nerves in this way, and only one man was exposed to it, and from that moment on, he stayed in their house. He used to come to me and take sessions until he stopped coming. But after a few years, by chance, I found him walking next to me in the street. He asked the doctor to bring him his file. He told him he will search for it. He talked to another doctor, but this doctor refused to help him. He got angry at that time. Intrigued, she came to him, but her words were not on his mind. She told him, 'By the way, medicine is not the only thing that will give you value. There are many things that you can work on that are necessary in life, because life don't stop at one thing.' He says to her, 'How will you make me feel valuable? Like you, for example.' And she says to him, 'You should apologize to me now.' He says to her, 'You are the one who should leave now.' She says to him, 'I will leave now. Better than sees you in this situation. You don't want to change anything in your life.' He says to her, 'And I won't wait for you. You see me changing? We are not friends, Kristen. We used to love each other, but you like stories.' She gets shocked and leaves. At this time, the doctor sent him the file of the patient. He knows his address, and when he goes to the place where he is, Stephen tracks down this man, who reveals that he healed himself through mystical means, and directs Stephen to a place called Kamartaj. With his last bit of money, Stephen travels to find Kamartaj. After wandering aimlessly and asking everyone he meets, he finally encounters someone who guides him to the hidden sanctuary. However, on his way, he is attacked by thieves who try to rob him. He tells them that he doesn't have any money. He tells them, "Bring me the watch that's on your hand." He tells them, "I'll give you this only one I have left." At this time, Stefan punches him, but they hit him fiercely until this person appears. He strikes them and finishes them off completely. He takes the watch he has and returns it to him again. He tells them, "You're looking for Kamartaj, aren't you?" He take him to the place, and Stephen sees it. He says to him, "You're looking for Kamartaj, right?" He take him to the place, and Stephen sees the location and is shocked. He says, "Is this Kamartaj?" He replies, "Yes, don't rush your fate. I was like you at first." He takes him inside. He says, "This is the place of the great teacher." He enters inside and they welcome him. He keeps thanking the great teacher a lot, and he is very surprised. She says to him, "Mr. Strange, isn't that right?" He replies, "No, I'm a doctor." She says, "No, you're not a doctor anymore, of course." He says, "Let me tell you something. Have you seen someone named Banjo Board?" She says, "Something like that." He says to her, "Remember, you helped him to walk again on his feet." She says, "Exactly." They both keep talking about how that happened. Stephen gets angry at her. He keeps belittling her importance, but she hits him in the chest, pulling his soul out of his body and then returning it again. He says, "What did you do?" She says, "I pulled your soul out of your body and returned it again." "Of course, you want to know how that happened? I'll tell you. I took you to the astral dimension for a moment and then brought you back out of it again." He says to her, "Why are you doing all this?" She replies, "To show you how ignorant you are. Take a look." She keeps taking him through the multiverse, showing him many things he can't believe. His mind can't comprehend it either. She spins him around and brings him back to his place. She says, "Do you believe now?" He says, "Please teach me." She says, "No, of course not," and throws him out. He tries to enter again. Morno tells her he has been standing outside knocking on the door for 5 hours. "Apparently, I have the will to learn, and I won't leave until you open the door." She says, "It doesn't matter to me." He says, "Doesn't he remind you of Caecilius?" She replies, "Of course, and I won't take another student who will use his power for evil." He says, "You're right, because Caecilius stole the pages from the book. If you decipher its symbols, destruction will fall upon us all. I think the world needs a man like Strange." At the time, Strange is sitting idle. They open the door and let him in. They take him to the place where he will train. They say to him, "This place will be your space. Stay here and improve yourself. The great teacher will check on you from time to time." They give him a paper with Shambhala written on it. At this moment, Stephen sits down with the great teacher and begins his first lesson. After finishing the lesson, he goes to the library to return the books. There he meets Wong. Wong says to him, "Do you really intend to read all these books?" He replies, "Of course, yes." Wong says, "All right, follow me." He takes him to the master's library and gives him several books to read. Stephen asks, "What are these books about?" Wong replies, "These books belong to the Great One." He asks, "So no one else is allowed to read them?" Wong replies, "Nothing in Kamartaj is forbidden, but some things are restricted." Stephen takes a book and opens it. He says to Wong, "This book is missing pages." Wong replies, "This book is about the study of time, and those pages were stolen by a former master named Caecilius after he killed the library keeper. I am now the guardian of this library after Caecilius betrayed us. If anything is stolen from here again, I will know." Stephen takes his books and leaves. Meanwhile, Caecilius and his followers begin deciphering the symbols on the stolen pages, activating the spell. During this time, Stephen is training and finally receives his ring, which allows him to travel anywhere effortlessly. However, all his peers succeed except him as he struggles to use the ring. The great teacher arrives and tells the others to leave the place as she wants to speak with Stephen privately. Stephen says, "I don't know what the problem is. It seems like the problem is with my hands." She replies, "Of course not," and calls Master Hamir, who has lost both hands but can open portals with ease. She says to Stephen, "Now you know the problem isn't with your hands. The problem is with you. Your intelligence has taught you a lot, but your arrogance has brought you here. Bury your pride and you'll be fine." She opens a portal and takes him with her. He says, "This is Mount Everest." She replies, "Exactly. A person here can die from the cold in about half an hour, or at most, experience a stroke after 40 minutes. Goodbye, Stephen." She leaves him there and walks away. Stephen struggles to open a portal before he dies. The great teacher is confident he will succeed and waits for him at Kamartaj. Time passes, and Stephen is on the verge of death, but manages to open a portal at the last moment. He returns from the freezing cold before dying. Afterward, he goes to the library to ask Wong for specific books, but Wong refuses to give them to him. However, Stephen is clever and manages to steal the books he wants without Wong noticing. He reads them during Wong's naps, constantly learning and training. He even sends a message to his girlfriend, Christine. He goes to the library and retrieves the book on time that he always wanted to read. He studies it and finds the diagram in the book. He learns how to activate it. The Eye of Agamotto begins to work and he starts using its power. He discovers its deadly ability to manipulate time both forward and backward and controls it effortlessly. He returns the stolen pages to the book and reads the text about Dormammu and the Dark Dimension. He begins reciting the spell, but Wong and Mordo stop him at the last moment. They explain to him that what he is doing is dangerous and could lead to his destruction. Wong says, "Your curiosity could have killed us. You weren't just playing with the time device, you were destroying it entirely. We don't tamper with the laws of nature. We protect them." Mordo asks, "Where did you learn all this?" Stephen replies, "I have a good memory." Mordo says, "This isn't just a functioning brain. You have a natural talent for the mystical arts." Stephen replies, "But I'm still struggling until now." Mordo says, "You won't remain like this forever." They take him to a place inside and explain to him the truth about Kamartaj, how things work there and its purpose in life. Wong says, "Just as the Avengers protect the universe and the world from physical threats, we, the sorcerers, protect them from internal dangers. The great teacher is the last victory of a long triumph for the greatest sorcerers in the universe." This lineage traces back to the founder of the sorcerers thousands of years ago, Agamotto. Agamotto built 3 sanctums to protect the universe, one in New York, one in Hong Kong, and one in London. These sanctums protect the world, but we protect these sanctums. They say the sanctums protect from what exactly? They say from beings from other realms threatening our world. They mention Dormammu, right? He asks, "How do you know that name?" He replies, "I read it in the book." He says, "Dormammu is the destroyer of worlds, a creature whose goal is to dominate all universes, and Earth is his #1 target. He responds, "I understand all you're saying, but I'm withdrawing. I came here to find a cure for my hands, not to protect the universe. I have no interest in these matters." At that moment, the London door opens, and Caecilius strikes them. Stephen is thrown through the door. Stephen comes out and finds himself in London. He calls out, but no one responds. He enters the museum and finds the cloak of levitation, but he leaves it and walks away. At that moment, he steps outside and sees the guardian of the sanctum standing. Caecilius appears, and they fight the man, eventually killing him completely. Stephen activates combat mode and starts fighting the attackers. He defeats the first one quickly and throws the second one aside. Caecilius comes at him and Stephen continues to escape. They fight fiercely. Caecilius breaks the glass containing the cloak. Just as Caecilius is about to kill him, the cloak saves Stephen in the last moments. Caecilius tries to persuade Stephen to join Dormammu, promising him eternal life. Stephen refuses, saying, "No way." Caecilius calls him naive and says he doesn't understand the truth. When he looks behind, he stabbed him in his heart, so Stephen uses the sling ring to open a portal and escapes to the hospital to find Christine. He asks her to save him at any cost, and she manages to save him in the last moments. Stephen recovers and shows Christine the portal, telling her he has to leave now. He returns to the sanctum and meets Mordo there, and told him that the cloak choosed him. The great teacher arrives, informing them that the London sanctum has fallen. Stephen learns that the New York sanctum survived because of his efforts. The great teacher tells him that the sanctum needs a protector, calling him Master Strange. Stephen insists he is not a master and prefers to be called Dr. Strange. Caecilius appears again, and Stephen uses the mirror dimension to contain the fight, preventing the outside world from being affected. However, Mordo explains that using the mirror dimension strengthens Caecilius and his followers as they draw power from the dark dimension. They escape through a portal, but Caecilius manipulates the buildings around them in pursuit. Caecilius prepares to strike Stephen, but the great teacher arrives, fighting Caecilius and his followers. In the end, she is betrayed and fatally wounded. Stephen and Mordo take her to the hospital, but she dies. Stephen apologizes to Christine before leaving to confront Dormammu. Caecilius and his followers attack the Hong Kong sanctum, but Stephen uses the time stone to reverse the destruction. Caecilius mocks him, saying time is now against him. Stephen then faces Dormammu in the dark dimension, trapping him in a time loop. Dormammu kills Stephen repeatedly, but each time Stephen returns, forcing Dormammu to bargain. Eventually, Dormammu agrees to leave Earth alone and takes Caecilius and his followers with him. Stephen restores everything to its original state, but Mordo accuses him of violating natural laws and leaves the path of sorcery. Stephen returns the Eye of Agamotto to its place and prepares to protect the sanctum. Strange and Miss America, who are being chased by this monster, but Strange strikes the monster, freezing it in place. She tells him to finish it off, and he says the monster is still alive, but this should be enough to kill it. She mentions the Book of Vishanti, and he assures her he won't let the monster control her and urges her to go to the book immediately. A violent monster appears, ready to destroy them completely, but the doctor confronts it to finish it off. He tries to trap it with his supernatural powers, but fails. He tells Miss America that the monster is too strong and that he can't defeat it. However, he refuses to let the monster control her. At that moment, he grabs her and lifts her up. She asks him what he's doing, saying he's killing her, to which he replies that he knows what he's doing. He tells her that if we look at the multiverse, there is more to life than she can imagine. At that moment, the monster impales him in the stomach and lifts him up. The cloak takes her and runs to get to the book, but the monster grabs her and completely controls her. The girl uses her superpowers to open a portal through time. Strange strikes the monster, and they all enter the portal. Dr. Strange wakes up and realizes it was a dream. At that moment, he gets up, puts on his suit, and heads to a wedding. Upon arriving, he discovers that the bride is Christine, the girl he used to be with. He drinks to forget, while she drinks to remember. He congratulates her, and she introduces him to Charlie. He tells her he doesn't want to meet him, as he only wants to say a few words to her. He tells her he did everything to protect her, which is why he distanced himself from her. She responds that their relationship was doomed anyway, because he was meant to protect people, not just her. He leaves and looks out from the balcony, then dons his suit and goes to see what's happening. He discovers a ferocious monster destroying everything in its path. The monster nearly captures the girl, but he stops it at the last moment. The monster throws a bus at him, but he splits it in half. The monster recognizes him, but it attacks him, rendering him unconscious. Someone might ask. The monster is about to kill the girl when the Sorcerer Supreme saves her at the last moment. But even the Sorcerer Supreme is defeated, and the monster captures him. America is about to fall, but the cloak grabs her and runs. The monster strikes her, pinning the cloak to the stairs. Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme confront it. The monster drags them, but Strange puts on the cloak and attacks it. Together, they defeat the monster. The Sorcerer Supreme asks who the girl is, and Strange says he was about to ask the same question. Strange asks her what the monster wanted from her. Suddenly, she grabs his ring. They open a portal and capture her. Strange asks why she did that, and she says she's afraid of him. He tells her he did the impossible to save her and has no intention of killing her. He's puzzled because he dreamt about her yesterday. She tells him it wasn't a dream, it was another universe. She explains that she can travel through the multiverse but can't fully control it, which only happens when she's very scared. He asks why the monster wanted to kill her, and she reveals it was trying to capture her for a demon who wanted to control her powers. Strange says he knows someone who can help and goes to Wanda, one of the Avengers with the most powerful magic in the world. She's with her children but wakes up from a dream. Strange visits her and asks for her help, but he doesn't know that Wanda is actually the demon herself. He asks her why she's doing this, and she says it's to get her 2 children back. He tells her they're not her children, they're creations of her magic. She demands America be handed over to her, threatening to destroy everything if he doesn't comply. Strange returns to Kamartaj and begins fortifying the place for Wanda's attack. She arrives, and he warns her to leave on her own or be forced to leave. She tells him to prepare for death, and the battle begins. Wanda breaks through their defenses, using her magic to control one of them and open a gap in the shield. She enters and begins destroying everyone in her path, breaking their bones and crushing them. She tells Strange to step aside or she'll finish him. She says she'll do whatever it takes to reach her children. Strange tells her they don't exist and that all her visions are illusions. She attacks him fiercely, lifting America and opening a portal. Doctor Strange grabs America and jumps through the portal, escaping. They travel through different universes until they reach a specific one. They stop at a museum dedicated to Doctor Strange, where they see a statue in his honor, indicating he's dead. At the gates of the Sanctum Sanctorum, they meet Mordo, who once helped Strange learn magic, but later turned against him. Surprisingly, Mordo welcomes him and lets him inside. He asks Strange about his universe, and Strange explains that Wanda is using demons and dark magic to harm the girl. He mentions that Wanda possesses a powerful book of dark spells. Mordo offers him tea, but before Strange can respond, he starts feeling dizzy and realizes that he put sleeping potion in his tea. She launches a spell from the book into his tea, and indeed, he falls into a deep sleep. At that time, America is in the picture, and Wanda is casting a spell from the book to travel to the parallel universe and take control of her alternate version. She succeeds in traveling there and takes control of her alternate self. However, her happiness is short-lived as a student from Kamartaj destroys the book and dies in the process. She regains consciousness and becomes extremely angry. She unleashes her wrath on this man and breaks his bones, telling him, "You memorized the book entirely." She interrogates him about the spells written in it and threatens him. He finally tells her that the book has no other copies, but legend says the spell inscribed in the book is carved on a wall in Mount Wundagore. However, anyone who ventures there never returns alive. She decides to take the risk, believing she might succeed and return. Meanwhile, Doctor Strange regains consciousness, but finds devices attached to his hands, making him unable to control his power. He looks around and is shocked to see his beloved Christine in the same place. He asks her, "Why are we here?" She responds, "You're here for examination. You're from another universe, and you might have brought a virus with you." At the same time, Wanda reaches the mountain and encounters rocky monsters. She prepares to attack, but the monsters bow to her, having awaited her arrival for years. She looks at the Supreme Sorcerer and realizes he's of no use to her, so she throws him off the mountain and continues her mission. Elsewhere, a trial is taking place, but it gets postponed as Wanda attacks the location. She faces the Illuminati heroes, but they are no match for her. She defeats them one by one, breaking their bones. Meanwhile, she also confronts Strange, but he defeats her. Strange then joins Christine and America to retrieve the Book of Vishanti to stop Wanda. They manage to escape and reach the book. Strange opens it and is about to read the spell, but Wanda intervenes, stopping him just in time. Wanda captures America and opens another portal, throwing Christine and Strange into it. Wanda takes America to her world to extract her power. Strange, now in a completely destroyed universe, searches for an alternate version of himself. He eventually reaches a sanctum and meets his alternate self. They talk for a while, and Strange asks for the Darkhold book to stop Wanda and save America before it's too late. His alternate self warns him that using the book could cause a multiverse collision, destroying everything. Strange ignores the warning, leading to a fight between the two strangers. The original Strange defeats his alternate self and retrieves the book. Christine supports him as he uses the Darkhold to possess his dead alternate self and confront Wanda. However, his decayed body is weak, and Wanda overpowers him. She sets him aside and turns to America to extract her power. But America fights back, opening a portal to the universe where Wanda's children reside. Wanda enters, expecting love and comfort from her children, but they fear her. Their mother, the version who raised them, appears, and Wanda attacks her. Wanda tries to reassure her children, saying she won't harm them, but their fear remains. Her alternate self tells Wanda to let go, assuring her the children will be safe with her. Wanda, overcome with guilt and love for her children, abandons her evil plans. She destroys the source of the dark magic to prevent anyone from using it again. Doctor Strange and Christine regain consciousness. Christine asks if everything is okay, and Strange reassures her. He tells her he has always loved her in every universe, but stayed away to protect her. She advises him to face his fears and stop running from them. Back at Kamar-Taj, America begins her training as a sorcerer. Strange returns to his world, repairs the watch Christine gave him, and resumes his normal life. While walking, he is approached by Clea, the sorceress supreme of the dark dimension. She tells him he caused a multiverse collision and must fix it himself. Strange agrees and follows her, ending the film. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get more new videos. See you next time.